Something happened to me that still makes my hands shake when I remember it. Even now, when the night is quiet, my heart goes back to the day my life began to split into before and after. What I am about to share did not start with joy. It started with fear, silence, and a heavy secret that grew inside me. This story is not only about belief, it is about pain, courage, loss, and hope. Please stay with me until the end, because what begins softly will soon demand a strong heart. Before we continue, please comment where you are watching or reading from. Let us know your country or city so we can connect as one family and continue to pray for one another. I was born in a small northern town where the call to prayer shaped our days and nights. Faith was not something we discussed, it was something we breathed. My family was respected, known for discipline, learning, and strong religious roots. My father was strict but admired. My mother was gentle but firm. From childhood, they showed me that obedience was love and that questions were dangerous. As a boy, I learned how to wash before prayer, how to bow, how to fast, and how to stay silent. The elders taught me that doubt was a weakness. They showed me that fear of God meant fear of punishment. I accepted all of this without protest because everyone around me lived the same way. School became my safe place. Books did not shout at me. Science did not threaten me. I loved learning how the body worked, how blood flowed, how pain could be treated. When sickness visited our home, I watched helplessly as prayers were said again and again while suffering stayed. That planted a small seed in my mind, though I did not know it yet. I worked hard and became a doctor. The white coat gave my family pride and gave me purpose. In the hospital, I saw life arrive and life leave. I saw children fight illness with small, tired bodies. I saw mothers cry quietly so no one would judge their faith. I saw men pretend to be strong while fear ate them inside. At first, I prayed harder. I fasted more. I begged God to explain why healing did not always come. Inside me, questions grew louder, but outside I stayed the same. I knew the cost of asking too much. In my community, belief was guarded like a wall with no door. One evening, a patient was brought in very late. He was weak and close to death. I treated him with everything I knew. When I finished, I sat nearby, watching him breathe slowly. A nurse stayed with him. She was calm in a way I could not understand. Her peace did not match the moment. Over the next days, I noticed something different about her. She showed kindness without fear. She helped patients no one wanted to touch. She stayed even when others left. She did not argue about faith, but her actions spoke loudly. Later, she revealed to me that her strength came from Jesus. That name made me uncomfortable. I had been taught to reject it without thought. Still, something about the way she lived disturbed me, not in anger, but in curiosity. I did not change then, but something cracked inside me. At home, I began to feel alone. Prayer felt heavy, words felt empty. I became quieter. My wife noticed and grew worried. My friends noticed and became suspicious. In our culture, silence can be louder than rebellion. I began reading secretly. Not openly, not proudly. I hid books like crimes. Each page felt dangerous. Fear followed me everywhere. I checked doors. I watched faces. I listened for footsteps. I knew stories of people who asked the wrong questions. They lost families. They lost jobs. Some lost their lives. The pressure grew fast. My father warned me gently at first. He told me that honor was fragile. My uncle reminded me that shame spreads quickly. My community began to watch me closely. Invitations stopped. Conversations ended when I arrived. The persecution did not begin with violence. It began with silence, isolation, and fear. It felt like being slowly erased while still breathing. At night, I lay awake, hearing my own heart beat too fast. I was afraid of God, afraid of people, afraid of myself. I felt trapped between what I had been taught and what I was beginning to see. I did not know then how much pain was still ahead. I did not know that choosing a different path would cost me nearly everything. But I knew one thing clearly. My old life was no longer holding me together. And this was only the beginning. I did not know that the questions in my heart would soon turn into wounds on my life. What began as quiet thoughts inside my mind slowly became a storm that would cost me safety, friendship, and peace. From this point, nothing stayed normal again. I was still working as a doctor when the pressure started to grow. The hospital was busy every day. The smell of medicine, blood, and sweat followed me everywhere. I treated sick people with care, but inside me, I was becoming sick in a different way. I felt fear mixed with confusion. My hands helped others heal, but my heart was breaking. I started noticing things I had ignored before. I saw children die even after strong prayers. I saw kind people suffer while cruel people lived well. I saw pain that did not respect age, faith, or effort. These moments stayed with me long after my shift ended. They followed me home. They followed me into my sleep. At work, I became quieter. I stopped joining long religious talks during breaks. Some colleagues noticed. One of them warned me in a soft way that silence can be dangerous. Another showed me with their eyes that I was being watched. Rumors move fast in closed communities, and suspicion moves even faster. One day, a senior doctor pulled me aside. He reminded me of where I came from and what was expected of me. He showed me that my future depended on obedience, not curiosity. His face was calm, but his message was heavy. I understood that my job was no longer safe. At home, the persecution grew stronger. My wife felt the change before anyone else. She watched me pray with shaking hands. She noticed that I stayed awake late, thinking too much. She revealed her fear to me through her tears. She showed me that my questions were putting our family at risk. Soon, my family began to treat me differently. Meals became silent. Smiles disappeared. My father stopped asking about my work. My mother watched me like she was waiting for bad news. I felt like a stranger in my own house. The community followed. Friends stopped visiting. Calls stopped coming. When I walked through the market, people whispered. Some moved away from me. Others stared like I was already guilty of something terrible. Children were pulled away from me as if I carried a disease. The worst persecution was not the shouting, it was the loneliness. It was being treated like I no longer belonged. I felt erased while still alive. One evening, I was called to meet some elders. They did not shout, they did not hit me. They showed me disappointment instead. They revealed that my name was being discussed. They showed me that my faith was under investigation. I left that place with weak legs and a heavy chest. After that day, the threats became clearer. I was warned that I could lose my job. I was reminded of people who had disappeared after choosing a different path. I was shown examples of men who lost their families and never recovered. Fear became my daily companion. I checked behind me when I walked. I lowered my voice when I spoke. I hid my thoughts like stolen goods. I lived two lives at the same time, and both were painful. At night, I cried quietly so no one would hear me. I asked God for help, but I did not know how to ask anymore. I felt trapped between what I was taught and what I was starting to understand. My heart wanted truth, my body wanted safety. This chapter of my life was full of pressure, persecution, and pain. It showed me that belief is not only about what you accept, but about what you are willing to lose. And I was beginning to lose everything. There are moments that look small when they happen, but later you understand they were turning points. This chapter began with fear in my chest and ended with a light I could no longer ignore. From here, my life moved closer to danger, but also closer to truth. The pressure around me did not stop. Instead, it followed me everywhere. At the hospital, I felt eyes on my back. At home, silence became heavier than words. Even in public places, I walked carefully, like someone walking on thin glass. One day, I was assigned to care for a man who was badly injured. He had been attacked on the road and left bleeding for hours. His body was weak, but his eyes were calm. While I worked on him, I noticed that he did not panic. He showed patience that did not match his pain. During his stay, I visited him many times. He never spoke loudly about faith, but his actions revealed something different. He treated nurses with kindness. He forgave those who hurt him. He showed peace even when recovery was slow. Later, he revealed to me through simple conversation that his strength came from following Jesus. That name returned again, not as noise, but as quiet truth. Another encounter followed soon after. A woman brought her child to the hospital. The boy was very sick. We tried everything we could. When the child died, the woman cried, but she did not break apart. She held her child and showed hope even in loss. She revealed that her hope was not based on this world alone. I could not understand how people facing such pain could still have peace. I started reading secretly again. This time, fear was stronger, but hunger for truth was stronger too. I hid what I read inside medical books. I read at night with the lights low. Every page felt dangerous. Every sound outside my room made my heart jump. As I learned more, my inner conflict grew. I felt pulled in two directions. One side promised safety and acceptance. The other promised truth, but warned of suffering. The persecution increased quickly. Someone reported my behavior to community leaders. I was called again for questioning. This time, their faces were harder. They showed me anger mixed with disappointment. They revealed that I was close to being labeled a traitor. After that meeting, my phone was checked. My movements were watched. I felt hunted. Friends avoided me completely. Some warned others not to greet me. My wife was pressured by her family. She was told that my path could destroy our children's future. At work, my position changed. I was moved to less important duties. Promotions stopped. Respect faded. I understood that my career was being slowly taken away. One night, something happened that shook me deeply. I had a dream that felt more real than sleep. I saw myself standing alone in darkness, tired and afraid. Then I felt peace surround me, not from effort, but as a gift. When I woke up, my pillow was wet with tears. I did not hear voices, I did not see faces, but I knew something had touched my heart. The next morning, fear and peace lived together inside me. I knew the road ahead would be painful. I knew persecution would grow worse. But I also knew I could no longer pretend. This chapter taught me that truth often comes through people, pain, and quiet moments. It does not shout, it waits. And I was running out of time to decide. The day I stopped pretending was the day suffering truly began. I did not announce my decision. I did not stand in public. Still, somehow, truth has a way of making noise, even when you whisper it inside your heart. My choice was quiet, but the reaction was loud. I began to change inside first. Fear was still there, but peace started to grow beside it. I treated people with more patience. I forgave faster. I no longer felt empty when I was alone. That change did not go unnoticed. People sense when something is different, especially in places where everyone is expected to be the same. The persecution came in waves. At home, it hit first. My wife was confronted by relatives. They told her that I had brought shame to the family. They revealed to her that staying with me would cost her respect and safety. She cried often. She showed me her pain without blaming me, but I could see fear in her eyes every day. My children were affected next. They were mocked by other children. They were avoided. Teachers treated them differently. I saw confusion on their faces and felt guilt crush my chest. I questioned myself many nights, wondering if my choice was destroying innocent lives. Then my parents turned away from me. My father stopped speaking to me completely. He refused to eat in the same room with me. My mother cried silently when she saw me but could not touch me. Relatives stopped calling. Family gatherings happened without me. I was alive, but treated as if I had already died. The community followed with cruelty. Neighbors warned others to stay away from my house. Shop owners refused to serve me. Friends crossed the road to avoid greeting me. Some people insulted me openly. Others threatened me quietly. They revealed that my safety could no longer be guaranteed. At the hospital, persecution became official. I was reported to authorities. My work was investigated. My license was questioned. I was accused of spreading dangerous ideas. I was removed from important duties and placed where I could be easily watched. Younger doctors were told not to associate with me. I became invisible in meetings and ignored in decisions. One night, men came to my house. They did not break in, but they made their presence known. They showed me through fear that they could return anytime. After that night, I barely slept. Every sound felt like danger. I kept the lights off. I kept my phone silent. My children slept close to me because they were afraid too. There were days I had no food because no one would sell to me. There were weeks with no income. There were moments I thought about leaving everything behind and running, but even that felt impossible. The emotional pain was worse than hunger. Being rejected by strangers hurts. Being rejected by family breaks something deeper. I felt shame, sadness, and loneliness all at once. I cried often, sometimes without sound, sometimes without control. I felt weak. I felt small. I felt human. Yet, in the middle of this pain, something strange happened. I did not lose my peace. Even when my body was shaking, my heart felt held. Even when I was afraid, I was not alone. I understood that following Jesus was not a path of comfort, but a path of truth. And truth has a price. This chapter of my life was full of loss, tears, hunger, rejection, and fear. It was the hardest season I had ever faced. But it did not destroy me. It prepared me for what was coming next. I thought the suffering would end me, but instead it changed me forever. What I lost was great, but what I gained was deeper than fear. This final part of my story begins where tears still fell, but hope refused to die. By this time, my life looked broken from the outside. I had lost my job as a doctor. My name was no longer respected. My home was quiet and heavy. Some days we had little food. Some nights we slept with fear, listening for danger. I remember one evening clearly. Rain fell hard on our roof. The power was gone. My children sat close to me, holding my arms. Their eyes were full of questions they were too young to ask. I felt pain in my chest, knowing my choices had brought them into this suffering. But even in that dark room, something was different. I was not empty anymore. I felt peace inside me, not because life was easy, but because my heart was no longer fighting truth. I understood that following Jesus did not remove pain, but it gave meaning to pain. I knew I was not abandoned, even when people turned away. The persecution continued. We were forced to move quietly from our home. Friends who once smiled at us now reported our movements. Some relatives refused to let us stay with them. We slept in places where we were not welcomed. My children were insulted. My wife cried many nights, asking God for strength. There were moments I felt weak. I felt afraid. I felt human. But each time I thought of giving up, I remembered those who showed me faith through love, forgiveness, and courage. I remembered the peace I felt even when everything else was shaking. I understood that this road had been walked by many before me. Slowly, help came from unexpected places. A kind believer showed me support when no one else would. Another helped me find small work so I could feed my family. I was not restored overnight, but I was sustained day by day. God showed me that I was seen. I began to help others quietly. I prayed with those who were suffering. I encouraged those who were afraid to believe. I did not stand on stages. I did not speak loudly. I lived my faith carefully, knowing the cost, but also knowing the reward. Today my life is still marked by loss, but also by purpose. I am no longer defined by my past title. I am defined by my faith. I am a man who chose truth over safety. I am a man who learned that love can survive persecution. If you are reading this and you are suffering because of your faith, know this: you are not alone. Your pain matters. Your tears are seen. Your courage has meaning. I encourage Christians all over the world to pray for those who are persecuted for their faith. Pray for those who are rejected by family, hunted by communities, and punished for choosing Jesus. Pray that they will have strength, protection, and peace. And if you are reading this and your heart is turning toward God, you can choose today to repent and begin a new life. You can speak to God simply, telling Him that you are sorry for your sins, that you believe in Jesus, and that you want to follow Him. Ask Him to forgive you, to change your heart, and to guide your life. He hears sincere hearts, even when words are simple. My story ends here, but the journey of faith continues. Pain may come, but hope remains.